Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Guyana and the US sign agreement at military level. This story takes the lead in our 1029th edition of Caribbean Perspective for Friday, 15th January 2021. Details when we return. Welcome back. Even as the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy intensifies, on Tuesday, Guyana signed another agreement with the United States of America aimed at strengthening security collaboration to combat shared transnational threats. More in this HGP Nightly report with Wendell Badri.
The agreement, being referred to as the Acquisition and Cross-Servicing Agreement, will allow for the exchange of goods and services of equal value at the military level between the two countries. The agreement was signed by Brigadier Godfrey Bess of the Guyana Defense Force and Admiral Craig Fowler of Southern Command of the U.S. Navy at the Baridi Benab at State House on Tuesday morning. Foreign Service Officer attached to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Royston Alkins, spoke briefly about the agreement prior to the parties affixing their signatures to the documents.
The Acquisition and Cross-Servicing Agreement is signed between the Department of the Defense of the United States of America and the Guyana Defense Force of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. This agreement will facilitate increased interoperability, readiness, effectiveness of the respective military forces through increased logistics cooperation.
Alkins explained that the contract would allow for further security bilateral relations between the United States of America and Guyana.
The United States of America can provide technical assistance to partners like Guyana to support U.S.-led counter-narcotics operations in international waters, or the United States of America can loan specialized maintenance equipment to Guyana.
The agreement creates new opportunities for successfully planning and conducting future cooperative activities while further strengthening the security partnership between Guyana and the United States. Meanwhile, during his address after the signing of the agreement, Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force, Brigadier Godfrey Bess, expressed his satisfaction while he spoke to natural hazards as well as man-made threats such as transnational crimes which undermine national security. He expressed the view that the magnitude of the region's security forces limits its effectiveness to respond to these threats.
The Guyana Defense Force is pleased to be a part of this agreement. The agreement allows for greater predictability in our defense partnership. It establishes a formal basis for encouraging the exchange of services between the militaries of the Guyana and the United States. The agreement is predicated on the respect for each other's sovereignty and in accordance with the principle of non-interference in each other's international affairs.
Admiral Fowler also registered his satisfaction at the signing of the agreement, deeming it another pivotal step forward in the U.S.-Guyana relationship. He stated that through this agreement, the two countries have ventured into a new era of defense partnership, while it builds on the momentum of visits to the country by the Secretary of State of the U.S., Mike Pompeo, and the International Development Finance Corporation, IDFC. He further stated that cooperation is key to overcoming every challenge faced.
We are strongest when we work together. And I am certain that together there is no challenge or threat to our shared security that we cannot face. I'm proud of the work we've done, and I look forward to our continued cooperation. We have much work to do as neighbors, as friends, and most importantly, as teammates who respect democracy, the rule of law, and values.
Admiral Craig Fowler is a 1983 graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy with a Bachelor of Science in Systems Engineering. He is also a 1990 graduate of the Naval Postgraduate School with a Master's in National Security Affairs, with a focus on strategic planning. Wendell Badri, HGP Nightly News.
In the meantime, the U.S. Admiral denies it is using Guyana to launch incursion into Venezuela. The details in this report again from Wendell Badri.
The comments by the U.S. Admiral follow the question posed by this newscast concerning what kind of support the United States would offer to Guyana in the face of the escalating border controversy between the two countries. Admiral Fowler further stated.
The U.S. supports the international process that's in place for a peaceful resolution of a border controversy. Our focus, and the focus that General Bess and I have, is working on areas that we can enhance our bilateral relationship. things that will strengthen the security of the United States and Guyana. We start with education and training.
Admiral Fowler emphasized heavily on education and training as its strategy to countering threats, referencing Operation Tradewinds.
Then we work in exercises. As I mentioned, exercise Tradewinds, it is our most important Caribbean-focused exercise. We work on being able to rapidly respond to a range of threats. In the exercise, these are hypothetical threats. In the real world, General Best laid them out quite well. Natural disasters, the threat of transnational criminal organizations. And so we work hard at our education, our training exercises, so that we never have to fight.
The Admiral mentioned that the acquisition and cross-servicing agreement, which was inked on Tuesday morning between the two countries, focuses heavily on logistics support. And while the question was posed to him about the United States establishing bases in Guyana, he responded by saying this.
The United States doesn't seek to have bases anywhere in the hemisphere. We seek to have the right military presence as invited by our sovereign partners. So we only come at the request of mutually agreed partnership for an exercise or training. And so our future presence here will be determined by our hosts, our friends.
During his visit to Guyana in September 2020, the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo had referred to the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, as a drug trafficker and stated in no uncertain terms that he must be removed from office. Juxtaposing that statement by the Secretary of State with the content of the acquisition and cross-servicing agreement, which pinpoints the combating of transnational crimes, inclusive of drug trafficking, this reporter sought to ascertain whether there could possibly be incursions by the U.S. on Venezuela, using Guyana as its territory to do so. However, the Admiral debunked that notion.
This agreement is about our bilateral relationship. And it's about our long-standing bilateral relationship, and it is not aimed at any nation state or any one particular threat. It's designed for us to be able to operate and train and exercise effectively together.
He further supported the statements made by Pompeo at State House in Georgetown, Guyana in September 2020.
The statement that our Secretary of State made is a fact. Nicolas Maduro is a convicted narco trafficker. And the evidence, hard evidence, significant increase in narco trafficking based out of Venezuela is there. We see it daily. And the hemisphere is impacted by that insecurity. The only one who benefits by that are Nicolas Maduro and his cronies.
Just Thursday last, President Nicolas Maduro had reignited claims to Guyana's territory, which prompted a strong rebuke from President Irfan Ali, who highlighted that his Venezuelan counterpart had violated at least 2 international laws by doing so. President Maduro shot back on Monday, accusing the Guyanese president of meddling in Venezuela's internal affairs, while also accusing the U.S. of protecting the interests of its multinational, ExxonMobil. Both the United States and Canada have recently expressed deep concern surrounding Venezuela's claim over Guyana's territory, even while the dispute is currently before the International Court of Justice. CARICOM also registered its disappointment with the decree issued by Venezuela, noting that it remains firmly against any acts of aggression by Venezuela to Guyana and is in full support of the ICJ in its attempts to bring a peaceful end to the age-old controversy. Opposition leader Joseph Harman had also issued a statement calling on Maduro to back off of Guyana's territory. Wendell Badry, HGP Nightly News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Sir Hilary Beckles, Vice-Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, UWI, and Dr. Anthony Fauci, renowned Director of the United States National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, are this year's recipients of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Award. The announcement was made by Reverend Al Sharpton, President and founder of the U.S. National Action Network, NAN. The awards will be conferred on Sir Hilary and Dr. Fauci at the annual breakfast event on Martin Luther King Day next Monday in Washington, D.C. This is the 30th anniversary for the awards by which the work and legacy of Dr. King are celebrated and people honored with a view to refocusing and sustaining his dream, said the release from NAN. It said Sir Hilary is being recognized for his global advocacy, academic scholarship and intellectual leadership in support of social justice, institutional equity and economic development for marginalized and oppressed ethnicities and nations. Dr. Fauci, who is at the forefront of the fight in the United States against the novel coronavirus, will receive the Lifetime Community Service Award. Previous awardees include the 42nd President of the United States, Bill Clinton, Berry Gordy, founder of Motown Music, and the 82nd Attorney General of the United States, Eric Holder. Event speakers have included, at the time, Vice President and now President-elect Joe Biden and the United States Attorney General Loretta Lynch. A major manufacturing company is set to lay off workers in Trinidad and Tobago, while the International Labour Organization is making an appeal to governments. We have those stories as well as news of crude prices in CNC3's Business Watch with Joshua Simongal.
In its third retrenchment exercise in 3 years, manufacturing company Trinidad Cement Limited served retrenchment letters to 12 permanent employees citing excess labor. According to Majority Union, the Oilfield Workers Trade Union, the workers with 5 to 15 years of service were notified last week. At a press conference in Claxton Bay on Wednesday morning, the OWTU claimed the company cannot substantiate its claims of excess labor.
The company is on a campaign to terminate permanent workers in favor of higher-end contractors and contractor workers within the organization. And we are saying this morning that that is wrong, it is morally wrong, and it is unlawful to do so.
Mendoza says the union wrote the company rejecting the exercise. That, however, does not prevent it from proceeding. Mendoza insists if a resolution cannot be found between the parties, OWTU will file trade disputes with the Minister of Labour with the aim of taking it to the industrial court. One of the employees to be retrenched, Kyron Whiskey, claims victimization.
We have no surplus labor. As a matter of fact, we have contractors working, doing our jobs on a daily basis, right in the presence of us. So this matter hopefully would be addressed with the union and the company in the court of law, where we can get justice.
In November 2019, the industrial court reprimanded and discharged TCL for terminating 16 workers earlier that year without prior notice. The cement company faced no further action, however, as the court found the OWTU complicit. A new report by the International Labour Organization is calling for improved labour protection for home workers. According to the report, governments in consultation with workers and employer organizations should ensure home workers move from, quote, invisibility to decent work, end quote. The ILO found that in low and middle income countries, almost all home-based workers work informally. Because of their informal status, it said, home workers do not have the same level of social protection as others. Home workers, for example, are less likely to be part of a trade union or to be covered by a collective bargaining agreement, and are also less likely to have access to training. Prior to COVID-19, there were approximately 260 million home-based workers worldwide, but the ILO expects that the figure increased significantly. Crude prices remain relatively steady today as Saudi Arabia continues to prop up the market by now announcing it will reduce shipments to certain countries in Europe and Asia. Oil futures got a welcome shot in the arm last week when the world's largest producer unilaterally announced it will cut 1 million barrels a day from its production in both February and March. Joshua Simongal, CNC3 Business Watch.
I am Eddie Frederick, wishing you a restful weekend. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.